What's good, YouTube fam? It's your boy Tony, aka the Senator of Chaos and Controversy, and I'm here to make a video because it was something that a person who I follow by he goes by the name Ricky Manor, aka the Melanated Rebel, and he's made videos that covered a broad scale of topics, especially having to do with where we are at here in this country, here in America. And all of the conflict and the controversy that has been highlighted, going back to last year, dealing with the Black Lives Matter, the Proud Boys, and people like Candace Owens and ex-officer Brandon Tatum. Okay. Now, I would say for the most part that Ricky and we agree on a lot of views. Some of his standpoints are his standpoints, and a lot of my standpoints are my standpoints. But we can agree to disagree. But at the end of the day, we understand each other. I think I'm comfortable enough to say that we understand each other. I take the time out to hear and see what this brother has to say and what he brings to the table as far as tangible, meaty topics of discussion. And he does have content that is worth listening to. I mean, I could listen to him because I've always preached. I've always been the advocate for balancing the scales. There's never always a one-sided perspective to a debate, to a discussion, to an argument. But some people entertain a one-sided point of view. And it's cut and dry, and you can't see them to see where another person's coming from because their side is correct, right, and there's no budging from it. And in a way, yeah, it bothers me, and I have somewhat of a problem with it. And when I speak of particular individuals who are like that, I'm making that reference to Brandon Tatum. Okay, I'm not even going to sit there and try to fucking hide that fact. And a lot of the things that Ricky points out, I pointed out, and other people point out, because it's transparent. It is transparent and it's blatantly obvious. It is blatantly obvious. He has a problem with the black community. He does. He doesn't hide it. He makes it painfully clear. Some of the rhetoric that he entertains and a lot of his feedback, his talking points, some of the things that he discussed, especially when he's invited to come on Fox News and all of that, whatever, and him and Candace Owens have their own little whatever show, whatever, and he got the Tatum report or whatever. But, and I'll say this in fairness. He has some talking points that I could say have validation that I agree with. Certain things that, when you're looking at things, from a certain perspective, you could say, yeah, I get where you're coming from, with that talking point, when you talk about this particular subject or that particular subject. Yeah, I would agree with that because you know what? They just taking things just a little too far. But then you find that when you watch enough of his videos, he's hypocritical about certain things. And Ricky Manor made a good montage of that, when especially when he was talking in reference to Martin Luther King and his point of view on Martin Luther King. You see him in one early video where he was describing Martin Luther King as this particular person. And then you see him in another video later on where he's saying Martin Luther King was this particular person. A conflicting point of view on how he saw Martin Luther King. And Ricky Manor put him on blast with that one, pointed it out. But what Ricky Manor also pointed out was that he said the one thing, and this is where a lot of people have taken notice, have pointed out, and he never, Brandon Tatum never came into defense of himself to negate this or defend himself on this. Um, but he does pander to a particular audience. The art of grifting. You know, um, and he does that, and how he does that is by, taking all the stereotypes, all the prejudices, all the negative outlooks on the black community, and he used that to justify why things are happening in the black community. And he demonizes black people the same way white people demonize black people. And he'll sit there and he'll throw black people up under the bus with a straight face and basically say that black people ain't shit. And a lot of people are left with a distaste in his mouth because, like I said before, I said in my upbringing and stuff like that, you discounting people in the black community, because basically what you've done is took a particular area where you get these people who criticize black people, who look at people in a negative way, and discount the people in the black community who are productive. Because you made a generalizing point of view. But then when people turn around and use those same talking points and same fucked up rhetoric against white people, you want to say that they're fucked up. But it's okay when it's done to black people, but it's wrong when it's done to white people. And 9 times out of 10, Ricky has done it. I have done it. We've said, look, there's bullshit on both sides of the fence. You know what I'm saying? And in addition, he wants to say racism don't exist. That it's a myth. That it's something that people just fan the flames on or exaggerate. You can't tell a person, and I keep bringing this up as a point of reference. This country is made up of 50-something states, right? We have many different graphics. We got cities, we got towns, and things of that nature, right? And of course, a lot of people say a lot of crimes happen in major cities like New York, Chicago, LA. You can even count in where I'm from, Hartford, Connecticut, and stuff like that, or in impoverished areas and stuff. And then we want to just say that everybody in those areas are like criminals and thugs and stuff. And it's unfortunate that they just happen to be minorities and stuff. And then it's funny because what I find to be ironic is that you can't classify everybody that's from that area or of that particular ethnic group as criminals. But it's okay for people to do that because it kind of gives credibility or it supports their narrative to an extent. But these are the same people in the same breath that says, oh, these talking points causes division and stuff. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about that. But when you do that, trying to vilify everybody in one group, isn't that a form of creating division? Trying to encourage people to share your perspective on a particular group of people. And this is something that has been taught. This is something that people have learned from a particular group. Because part of the reason why I believe that people have a problem with people learning about history is because we all know that in this country, white people was the boogeyman to the black community. They've done some fucked up shit to the black community. And people were like, oh, that's in the past, that's in the past, that's in the past. but it doesn't excuse, it doesn't make them exempt, it doesn't take away the accountability, even though they show no accountability for the actions of their forefathers. And some of them fucking same beliefs, behaviors have trickled down to their generation of kids and stuff like that. And you want to talk about what's being taught in schools that they're trying to push on? What do you think was taught in the homes? How people look at certain people, how people judge other people based on how they look. Because Brandon Tatum was talking about presentation, right? How people dress, and why they get the feedback. He didn't say whether it was right or wrong, but we knew where that conversation was going. But he vilifies a lot of black people. He generalizes a lot of black people based on certain areas here in this country. You know what I'm saying? And one thing I know is when he always made his talking points, he always made a reference to Chicago. Chicago doesn't define every black person here in this damn country. But you would have white people thinking, by the way he was talking, that black people are like the people out of Chicago. But and I've taken offense to that because, like I said in other videos, I'm adopted. I myself am a biracial individual, half black, half white. Okay, my parents' father was in the military, Air Force. Said it before, he was a tool and die maker by trade. Had an associate's degree and got his bachelor's degree. After working for some time at Pratt & Whitney as a tool and die maker, making machines that produce engine parts for aircrafts. My mom, and he was from North Carolina. His father was a farmer, a sharecropper, and stuff. And there's things that he's witnessed growing up in the South that he has told me. But Brandon Tatum will be like, oh, your father never experienced racism. Your father never dealt with people calling him the N-word or treating him on a job. I could give you stories about when my parents moved out of Hartford. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm gonna come back to that, okay? Because this is the shit that Brandon Tatum would like you to believe doesn't happen. Okay? Let me tell you this. Okay, so my mom was from Atlanta, Georgia. She moved to Connecticut, okay? I said this before. I said that she was worked for the IRS, had her bachelor's degree, had a realtor's license, and they were both landlords. They both owned 4-room houses in addition to the house that we grew up in on Chester Street in Hartford, Connecticut. Okay? One of the only black families in a predominantly white neighborhood in the city of Hartford with a pool in the background. And we grew up around Italians, Polish, Puerto Ricans, Indians, which were Guyanese, whatever, and some black people that, whatever. And that was my upbringing. Sent my sister and I to private schools. You know what I'm saying? They instilled the work ethic into us. And in regards to race, now, my father understood. He acknowledged the fact that he was raising a biracial child, and he didn't discredit or dismiss the fact that my mom was white. And one of the things that he's taught me, he says, you know what, son? He says, when you grow up, there are going to be some things that you're going to deal with. There are some things that you are going to experience that isn't going to be too, to your liking, and you might have questions about it. People are not going to like you because of how you look, I'm raising you so that you don't grow up to be a stereotype, because there are stereotypes out there. There are prejudices. He said, unfortunately, and this is what you got to deal with. When I was growing up, it was a lot worse, And he broke it down to me. But he said one of the things that I want you to understand and one of the things I want you to learn is that based on your experiences with individuals and stuff like that, don't have an overall look based on certain bad perspectives on a whole group. Okay? He says because the bottom line for me to put it in layman terms to simplify it, there are assholes in every race. Okay? So don't take the experiences of a few and have an overall bad outlook on those as a whole. Because, the individuals don't define the group as a whole. Okay? And that's what my father taught me. Okay? Now, when Brandon Tatum wants to talk about black people, okay? I grew up in Connecticut. Man, the gangs were getting out of control. The police were, when people want to say, oh, if you go down south, whatever, in certain areas in the south, whatever, it's racist and stuff like that. Try being up north in certain areas where police basically tell you you don't belong. Now, being that the taxes were high in Connecticut, high in Hartford, whatever, my parents sold the rooming houses. Well, my dad wasn't retired yet. My sister was still in school. And then after she left school, because I went to college after high school, but she ended up going to the military, and that's another thing. Now that's the key point, and I'm gonna come back to that also. Now, in Colchester, it's one of them towns where it's predominantly white. You might have like 1% Hispanic, 2% black, rest is white. There are people who got money, right? My parents bought a house. Where they live is nice. It's secluded. It's away from a lot of stuff. And even the little town is just like, you do one of these numbers, you're in and out of Colchester, okay? Now, where the property line falls to where my parents own the house that they live in the area, right? You go up this long, windy ass street, and you're passing like houses, but it's like you're going up this big ass hill or whatever. And then you reach a certain height, and like before you just come over the hill, there's a driveway to my parents' house. Now, here's something funny. The neighbors to my parents was a singer from the oldies by the name of Rick Derringer. They were my parents' neighbors, okay? True story. If anybody knows who Rick Derringer is, and my parents were into a lot of oldies music, okay? He was the one who had that hit single back in the day, Hang On Sloopy. Hang on, Sloopy, Sloopy, hang on. Yeah, he was married to this woman named Diane, right? But they had issues in their marriage and stuff like that, whatever. And they eventually ended up splitting up, going their separate ways or what have you. Okay, now, one morning, I remember this as if it was yesterday. My dad, what he would normally do, because like he's a busybody, he's a workaholic. He's always got to be doing something. If it isn't completing the chimney, because when they bought the house that they were in, the house was incomplete. The basement wasn't finished, that chimney wasn't finished or whatever, and he didn't have a shed in the back. He built that himself. It looks like a little barnyard, whatever. But he built that, and he was working on a chimney, and he was looking at the landscape of the yard. Well, where the property goes in the backyard, it's like woods. Because like when you go over the hill, you come down, and then you can either go straight or you can turn around. You're on another street on the opposite side of the woods of where my folks' property lies, but it's still their property. So my dad, he's in his t-shirt, his pajama pants, and a house coat. He got a cigarette, and he got his cup of coffee, right? No racism, right? No prejudices, right? Okay. So tell me why my dad he's looking at what he wants to do for the day at the yard. Sheriffs come flying down the driveway, 2 cars deep. Come up in, and my father's like coming back around. I'm coming out the house because, like, damn, I had to go to work. And they're like, excuse me. And I'm like, yes. And I'm in the doorway of the house. Do you live here? I said, yeah. And my dad comes around. He's like, what's going on? What's this all about? He goes, we got a call. And my dad looked at me. He looked at them. He said, okay. He said, I'll entertain this. What was the call about? He said, oh, we had a call that there was a suspicious person in the neighborhood. My dad said, what you really got the call was saying that there was a nigga in the neighborhood. What the fuck is he doing here? Cops didn't know what to say. They just looked at each other. They was like, well, sir, can you prove that you live here? My dad is in a fucking house coat with fucking pajamas, with a cigarette and a fucking cup of coffee. He said, what do you think? My mom comes to the door. You know, she got her little robe on. She like, what's going on? I'm like, Ma, someone called the cops on Dad saying that, you know, he was suspicious. My mom just rolled her eyes and just like, oh, fuck, here we go, you know, and just went back into it just retreated back into the house. So my dad said, hold on a minute. So he goes into the house because obviously he didn't have his wallet on him because, you know, why would a person on their own property have a wallet on them and shit if they could come out in any fashion that they choose to, which as long as it's presentable, okay? Goes back into the house, comes back out, produces his ID. He didn't have to because he could have just told the cops to go fuck off, which he kind of did after he showed them the ID. And then he said, you can go back and tell that person that, contrary to their beliefs, niggas are able to afford where they live. We don't all belong in the ghetto or the projects. You know what I'm saying? So you could tell them, yeah, I'm an upstanding citizen and I can afford to be here. And they can ease their conscience. And that's just one incident. That's just one incident. There are a couple others, you know, whatever. And my dad, and it had to pertain to me, of course, and the police, of course. And my dad had to come to be in support of me because, you know, there's things that then he had to tell me about law enforcement. So when Brandon Tatum wants to tell you that police don't do anything bad, that you're always in the wrong and stuff, you know, that's like me. Okay, that's like me saying this. That's like me saying black people don't do anything wrong. It's only and always white people that do things wrong. You know what I'm saying? Knowing goddamn well, I know that there are, for lack of a better word, there are niggas in the black community that do some nigga shit. I know this. I don't dispute that. But then there was also black people who are looked at as if they are one of them niggas and they're not. And that's the problem. But you want to know what the irony is of that? When you listen to Officer Brandon Tatum, he'll tell you that police are always right. Police can never do no wrong. There aren't any bad officers. Officers are never caught doing anything dirty. Oh, it's just isolated incidences. You know what I'm saying? Now, for those that aren't, you know, delusional, that aren't in la la land, that aren't about pandering to a particular demographics of people, they would say, okay, you can reel it back a little bit, Mr. Tatum. We do know that there are some fucked up individuals in the police department. We have gone onto their social media profiles, seen some of the racist rhetoric, had to go back and view some of the body cam footage that contradicts some of their reports and stuff like that. There are questionable behaviors that we found to be disturbing under this particular interaction and stuff like that. And that's just being in denial. That's being dismissive. But Tatum is comfortable with that. You can't tell him anything different. And you don't care to hear another side of the story because he'll be quick to tell you you're wrong and you're the problem. You're creating division. But what does he do? What does he do? He fans the flame of division. Now, and he doesn't balance the scales. He don't say, oh, well, I understand, like in my community, I do have some knuckleheads and stuff, but there are black people that do things, right. There are black people who join the military because they want to out of their situation of, the projects, the ghetto. They don't want to be subjected to dealing drugs and stuff, and they want some discipline because there's a lot of homes that are fatherless homes and stuff, and and it's not just in the black community. There's also fatherless homes in the white community, in the Hispanic community. I wouldn't say so much in the Asian community, but in certain demographics of people, yeah, it's becoming an issue. It's becoming a problem, and the kids don't have no proper guidance and stuff like that. And yes, and then you got other people that are going to school. There are college graduates. You have a lot of people in law enforcement. And there are judges. There are lawyers. There are bailiffs and stuff like that. Prosecutors. There are also people in the medical field who are black and that work as doctors, nurses, orderlies, or if need be, work in the cafeteria. Ambulance, paramedics. You got firefighters. You got teachers. You got college professors. You got real estate agents. And so on and so forth. You got factory workers, and you got farmers and so on and so forth. But in Brandon Tatum's narrative, those black people are excluded from the conversation. He only focused on the people that he could point the finger at and use to justify and vilify all black people. And that's like, and it's messed up because it's like you're encouraging fear to white people. You're basically saying that black people ain't shit, discounting the ones that are the productive members of society. And it's but then again, when people say there are racist white people and stuff, you want to sit there and say, nope, that's not true. Nope. No. That's just a fabricated perspective. There's not one racist white individual here in this country. Nope. You guys are just promoting division. You're full of shit. A lot of people that aren't easily persuaded by your talking points and stuff could tell you're full of shit. And those people you won't debate. Now, Ricky Manor, he wanted to debate you. He has yet to get a response from you. He have yet to hear you take him up on his offer. And Ricky Manor has also pointed this out. He said, and he's pointed out how he don't like how you be like shucking and jiving and pandering and playing that role of the coon to like certain crowds and stuff. That's why you, Candace Owens, and the ABL stand out. Because you do it to the point where like you can't deny it. You can't deny it. And here's the thing. I'm mixed. I've been in interracial relationships and stuff like that. I've pointed out the fuckery from black people. I've pointed out the fuckery from white people. I've pointed out the fuckery from Hispanic people. I point out the fuckery from other people and stuff like that. I don't just cater to one side. And I don't throw people up under the bus just to, make one group feel secure and self-righteous about themselves, continuing to look down on a group of people. Because that's what you do. You encourage that behavior for those to continue for which they have been doing, but you just reiterate and give them justification to continue, not just start, because white people have always had this distaste and opinions and prejudices towards black people, and you just help them right the fuck along. Yeah, niggas, fuck yeah. Fuck you, Brandon. Basically. But one thing that Ricky Manor pointed out, he says, I know this dude be following me. Because when I bring up certain talking points, he follows right behind and makes a video with the same talking points. And for a moment, I was kind of like, yeah, because like sometimes when I start to watch the video of Brandon Tatum and I go to hear him start to talk, here we go. Boom. No, don't want to hear it. But then there was a point that Ricky Manor said when he said, oh, black people don't try to better themselves. Black people don't like trying to find other outlets. And Ricky Manor pointed out, he said, so black people don't join the military? I said, yes. Thank you, because I didn't even think about that. But then there's the example of my sisters, my cousins, and stuff like that. I didn't join the military. Like I said, I went to school, then I just went to go to work right after that. Boom, working 2 or 3 jobs, just so I could stay out of trouble. Okay? So I said, damn, Ricky. I said, you got a fucking valid point. I said, he always sitting there, shitting on black people, telling them that they ain't shit, basically. And then, but he don't point out, like, where people try to better themselves. I said, and that's a good talking point. Okay, now, I would say that was probably like a week ago that Ricky Manor had made like a couple videos and he brought that talking point like 2 or 3 times or whatever. Today, I'm going down the rabbit hole of YouTube because, that's what I do. Yep. I see him. Brandon Tatum. Join the military. I said, I don't know if it's a coincidence or he just had this epiphany, but I said, I'll be damned. I said, if Ricky didn't just say that some of these talking points that this dude be bringing up comes after he makes a video, and like I said, I kind of like brushed it off, discarded it, and stuff like that. But then when I started to listen to it, to the details of what he had to say in the video, I was like, come on, bro. Seriously? I'm like, whatever. But I don't know. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And there's another thing too. Like Ricky Manor said, like he can like when it comes to like topics of discussion, like when it comes to racism and law enforcement and stuff, Brand is always on the side of saying that black people. Now, I give you a good point that I say that I would agree with. Ricky Manor would agree with that when it came to the Black Lives Matter. Oh, we were on the same page with that shit. I called it out and I exposed like the hypocrisy on the organization and stuff. I understood the movement. Like I said, I understood the movement. I understood why, things had to be put on the table to be addressed and stuff like that. But then all the other shit that was incorporated and followed and all that other stuff, I wasn't, in agreement with. I didn't agree with it. I didn't support the organization because I knew they were full of shit. I knew they were just opportunists. I made a video about that. Go back and look on my channel and see that I'm telling the truth and look at the date of it before these motherfuckers decide to bail on BLM. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, there are some things, and the broken homes in the system and stuff like that. Ricky Manor talks about that. I touch base upon it, but I'll say, yeah, Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum was spot on when it came to why the foundation of the homes were broken and stuff like that, due to the system that was created. But again, like I always said, one thing that people never ask the question of, who has the power and control in this country? Is it a group of white people, or is it a group of black people? Who is in control? And when we can sit down and honestly have this talk, because I've said who was really in control. I've pointed it out. And I would say those are the people who are responsible for the division, who had issues with interracial relationships and stuff like that, and outlawed it and made it a crime and prohibited it. Okay? Again, talking about segregation and talking about like the Fair Housing Act, the fair banking system, the jobs, why these farmers in the black community wasn't given like, a fair, how should I say, loan or whatever that the white farmers were getting. Now you got it on the flip side. Now white farmers are having the issue that black farmers are getting something. Like, come on now. And it's always like, why was it cool when white people was reaping all the benefits and getting in these high positions and everything was benefiting them, and then, you throw black people just a few scraps, not the whole fucking turkey leg, not the whole chicken, not the whole turkey, not the whole bird, but just like a couple pieces. People have an issue with it. Meanwhile, motherfuckers could sit at the table and have a whole fucking meal to themselves and shit. And it's not like I'm just making this shit up. You can go look up certain fucking topics of discussion when it comes to the farming issue and stuff between the blacks and the white people, from back in the day to the current argument today. You know what I'm saying? And people say, oh, racism is not an issue anymore. Get the fuck out of here. And then the only way you could justify it to say that there's truth behind it is because it's 2021. Oh, so you mean to tell me that that the reason why there is no racism, according to you, is because it's 2021? That's the only answer you got to give me? Not give me a answer as to why there's racist white women that sitting there calling people all kinds of names and stuff and having this sense of entitlement through their behaviors that they call Karens of society. That when you have like in this hotel dude talking about, there was a white guy that was doing whatever he was doing, and a black employee of that hotel comes out, and the cop goes immediately after the black guy, and the black guy tells him, I'm not the fucking suspect, whatever. And then the store manager has to tell the cop, what the fuck are you doing? There's no racism. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. Black people still being found hung. Black people found cut the fuck up, organs missing. You know what I'm saying? People still being called racial slurs, being threatened, but there's no racism. And these are the things that I was attacking BLM for being absent about, and only chasing fucking opportunities when it came to law enforcement and black tragedies in certain communities, if they saw that there was to be profit off of other people's misery. But there's no racism, right? You know what I'm saying? And then how can you sit there and say that, our current sitting president, when arguing in defense of Trump against Joe Biden and calling him Jim Crow Joe. Why would you call him Jim Crow Joe if there wasn't racism? A person who supported segregation, who had ties with the Klan, who supported the fucking crime bill, along with Koala Beast Harris. But there's no racism, right? Come on now. But anyway, that's all I got for today. Well, hopefully that's all I got for today. Until next time, until next video. Peace.